Okay, in this section, we're going to be talking about our tide tables. And in another video, we're going to be talking about our tidal current videos. So two separate things. Our tide tables allow us to calculate the vertical rise and fall of the water and the times. And then our tidal current is for doing the horizontal speed and direction of the water. So one thing I always say in class is make sure you're using the right publication when you start to work some of these problems. So I'm going to go through the different sections in this book that we're going to be using. So we break this down. There's a bunch of different tables in this tide table book, and we're going to be using two of them plus the index. All right, so we have table one. These are the reference stations, or I like to call them, they're like primary stations. Now, there can only be so many primary stations in the book, or else the book would be humongous. And then we have table two, which are kind of your substations that have tidal differences that if you can take those differences, apply them to the table one to get whatever the tide might be for another substation, so to speak. And then we have the index. And this is where we generally start is we go to the index, we find a location, gives us a reference number. We take that reference number to table two, we find whatever differences we need to apply, we take them, and then we go to table one and we apply those differences to the primary station. Now, one thing with our tide tables and our tidal current stations, they do not account for daylight savings time. So if you're working in any questions that say daylight savings time, DST, and you're working to solve for time, you need to add an hour. Okay, something to remember. You need to add an hour if you're solving for time and it is a daylight savings time. Okay, so this is table one. Okay, so again, the primary station. This is for Baltimore, and so if we look there, we can see it goes January, February, March, starts with the first day of the month, and the far left column is the time. So on January 1st, we had 0600, 1147, 1758, and 2353. Yes, these are in 24-hour clock. Now, the tide tables here, they do not tell us high or low, but you can see for the 0600, it was negative 0.1, and then we had at 1147, the 0.8. That was your low and then your high. So you have to look at the numbers to figure out the high, low, the high, low, the high, low. All right, so generally, you have a morning low and a morning high, and an afternoon low and an afternoon high. So that is what you're either going to be solving for the time of the morning high or low, or the height of the morning or afternoon high or low. All right, and then the far left column is the centimeters. We're not really concerned with that too much. All right, let's go take a look at table two. All right, so table two is where we're going to come right after the index. So if we look on the far left column there, it says number. That is the number that you're going to get from the index for that station. So you go to the index, look up the location, get the reference number, come to table two, and you find that number. The next column, it gives us the place, and then it gives us the position. And then what we're really concerned about is the differences. The differences are broken up into a difference in time and a difference in height. Each one of these has a difference for a high water and the low water. So for difference of time, we have high water, low water, and then those differences are in hours and minutes. So they're either plus or minus hours or minutes. So we are going to be adding and subtracting time again. So what I always tell students is just be careful, take your time when adding time. All right, so those are the differences that we might apply to those primary stations. These are secondary stations, so to speak. And then for the height difference, we have again the high-low water. You see that there is an asterisk next to it. So the asterisk, we multiply that against the height for the morning or afternoon high water or low water, and that'll give us the height for that time. So those heights are going to be what you apply to whatever the charted depth is. All right, so if you get, a positive like 1.5 feet, well, that's 1.5 feet added on to whatever the charted depth is, okay? And we're going to be doing a video of how to do all of this. And then we have the tide tables indexed to stations. So again, these don't give us page numbers, they give us reference numbers. So this is the first place we start, and we go to the index, we find a location, we get the reference number, we write it down, and we try to follow these procedures. We write it down, we go to table two, get our differences, write them down, go to table one, and write them down. Okay, so again, index, table 2 for the differences that we're going to apply. We make sure that we grab the correct differences information, whether it be for time or height, and then the high or low tide. And we also take into account that we're adding an hour for daylight savings time if it is a daylight savings time question. All right, so we're going to be doing a live one of these where I work through the problem, and this is just a once over the world of how we do our tide table problems.